The office buzzed with the usual noise. Phones ringing, papers shuffling, and the click of keyboards. Marcus, the new guy, walked in. His suit was simple, but he carried himself with quiet confidence. He didn't try to impress anyone. He just wanted to do his job. But the moment he stepped into the room, everyone's eyes were on him. They whispered, judging him, already assuming he wouldn't last. At his desk, Marcus noticed the manager, Mr. Davis, glaring at him from the corner of his eye. Davis had been with the company for years. He was arrogant, loud, and everyone feared him. But today, something about Marcus bothered him. Why was this quiet, hard-working man paying so much attention to him? Every move Mr. Davis made, Marcus watched. His eyes followed him as he talked to others, as he cut corners, as he treated people unfairly. It didn't sit right with Marcus, but he said nothing. He just observed, quietly, carefully. That made Davis nervous. Later that day, Davis decided to humiliate Marcus in front of everyone. He secretly poured sticky super glue on Marcus's chair, hoping to embarrass him. When Marcus sat down for the meeting, everything seemed fine, but when he tried to get up, he couldn't. His pants stuck to the seat. The room went silent, then laughter filled the air. Phones were out. The manager smirked, watching as Marcus struggled to free himself. Marcus stood slowly, his face red with embarrassment. He could feel the eyes on him, but he didn't say a word. The manager's laugh echoed in his mind. This is just the beginning, Davis thought, believing he had won. What he didn't know was that Marcus wasn't just a simple employee. The humiliation he had caused was going to come back in ways no one could expect. Before moving forward, we requested you please subscribe our channel. The next few days felt like an endless storm for Marcus. Every time he tried to speak up or offer a suggestion, Mr. Davis would shoot him down without hesitation. It wasn't just in meetings, it was in the hallways, during lunch breaks, everywhere. Davis seemed to enjoy belittling Marcus, treating him like he was invisible or just a tool to be used. Marcus noticed how Davis made rude comments to the other employees too, but he didn't let it affect him. He kept his head down, focusing on his work, but it wasn't easy. Davis gave him the worst tasks. While others got to attend meetings or work on important projects, Marcus was stuck with filing papers, making copies, and organizing old files no one cared about. It was clear that Davis was making his life harder on purpose. He was testing him, trying to break him down. Every time Marcus did something well, Davis found a way to take credit for it. Every time Marcus offered a solution, Davis dismissed it, saying it was too simple or not important enough. The office started to notice the tension. Some of the workers whispered about it, but no one stood up for Marcus. They were too scared of Davis. Marcus didn't complain. He worked harder than ever, but the weight of the abuse was starting to wear on him. Davis seemed to enjoy the control he had. He knew that Marcus wasn't just a new employee. He could feel that Marcus was different. Maybe it was the way he worked. Maybe it was how he watched Davis's every move. But whatever it was, Davis didn't like it, and he was determined to get rid of Marcus by any means necessary. One afternoon, Marcus overheard Davis talking to another manager. He didn't mean to eavesdrop, but the words he heard made his stomach drop. "I can't stand him," Davis said in a low voice. "He's always watching me, asking too many questions. I'm going to make sure he leaves soon." Marcus didn't let on that he'd heard anything, but inside he knew that Davis was going to keep making his life harder. And he wasn't wrong. That night, as Marcus was walking to his car, he noticed Davis smirking at him from the window. The hatred in his eyes was clear. The battle was just beginning, and Marcus had no idea how far Davis would go. The tension in the office grew even more over the next few days. Marcus could feel it every time he walked in. Davis was clearly watching him, waiting for any reason to humiliate him. He knew the manager was planning something, but Marcus kept his head down, focused on his tasks, and ignored the whispers behind his back. He didn't want to give Davis the satisfaction of seeing him angry or upset. Then one afternoon, it happened. The office was preparing for an important meeting, and everyone was gathered in the conference room. Marcus walked in, ready to sit down. As usual, he sat at the same seat he always took. But something felt strange. The chair didn't feel right. It was as if something was sticking to it. He shrugged it off, not thinking much of it. He listened to the meeting, trying to ignore the discomfort. But when the meeting ended, he stood up, and that's when he felt it. His pants were stuck to the seat. He tried to stand again, but his body refused to move. He tugged and pulled, but his legs wouldn't budge. A few people in the room noticed. Then the laughter started, quiet at first, but soon it grew louder. Phones appeared from every direction, cameras flashing. Marcus's face burned with embarrassment. He felt like everyone in the room was watching him struggle, waiting for him to fail, and he couldn't get free. Davis stood at the front of the room, a smug smile on his face. He stood silently, enjoying the moment. He was the one who had done this. He had secretly poured superglue on the chair. Earlier that day, he thought it would break Marcus. He thought it would be the final humiliation, the thing that would make Marcus quit. But Marcus didn't quit. He stayed calm. He didn't yell, didn't scream. He didn't even say a word. He just stood there trying to pull himself free without showing how much it hurt. The laughter from his coworkers echoed in his ears. It felt like the entire room was against him. But Marcus stayed silent. Finally, after what felt like forever, Marcus managed to stand up. His pants ripped as he pulled himself away from the chair. He quickly straightened himself, trying to keep his dignity. The room was still laughing, some people even mocking him. But he didn't let them see how much it affected him. As he walked out of the room, his hands were shaking. The embarrassment was overwhelming, but something inside him clicked. He knew what he had to do now. He wasn't going to let Davis win. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Marcus left the office that day, feeling humiliated, but he wasn't broken. His mind was racing as he walked to his car. He had never felt so small, so helpless, but there was something inside him that refused to give up. He knew he couldn't let Davis win. The manager's cruel tricks had crossed a line. Marcus had to do something. That night, Marcus couldn't sleep. He kept replaying the events in his head. The laughter, the looks, the sticky chair. But the more he thought about it, the angrier he got. He didn't deserve this. No one did. And that's when it hit him. He remembered what his father had told him when he first joined the company. Keep your eyes open. Watch what happens. See who you can trust. Marcus realized that his father had sent him to the company for a reason. He wasn't just another employee. He was here to observe, to learn. He had to stay strong. His father had wanted him to see what was really going on, and Marcus now understood why. Davis wasn't just a bad manager. He was a part of the reason the company was struggling. The corruption, the manipulation. It had to stop. The next morning, Marcus walked into the office with a different mindset. He wasn't just the quiet new guy anymore. He was ready. He knew what he had to do. He started paying closer attention to everything around him. Davis was still cruel, still trying to make Marcus's life miserable. But this time Marcus wasn't backing down. That day, Marcus witnessed something that changed everything. Davis was talking to one of the other managers, and Marcus overheard them discussing a shady deal. Davis was planning to use company funds for personal gain. It was the final piece of the puzzle. Marcus now had the evidence he needed to expose Davis and stop his reign of terror. He couldn't believe it. Everything his father had warned him about was true. But now, Marcus had the power to take control. He wasn't just a passive observer anymore. He was part of something bigger. And with this new knowledge, he was ready to turn the tables. It was time for Marcus to fight back. Not with anger, but with the truth. The day of the big reveal came faster than Marcus expected. He had spent the past few days gathering all the evidence he needed. He made copies of the shady deals Davis had made and wrote down everything he had overheard. Marcus knew this was his chance to bring Davis's lies to light. He couldn't wait any longer. That morning, Marcus walked into the office with a calm confidence. He knew what was about to happen, and he was ready. As soon as he stepped into the office, Davis shot him a cold, dismissive look. Marcus didn't flinch. He walked straight to his desk, opened his laptop, and prepared for the moment. He had planned it all out carefully. Around noon, Marcus requested a meeting with the head of HR and a few top executives. They didn't know what was coming. Marcus made sure to send a quiet email, hinting that he had something serious to discuss. They agreed to meet in the conference room. When everyone was seated, Marcus stood up. He could feel the weight of the moment. The room went silent as they waited for him to speak. Marcus took a deep breath and started. He told them about the corruption, the shady deals, and the ways Davis had been misusing company funds. He showed them the evidence he had gathered. The documents, the emails, everything. The room was in shock. People whispered to each other, trying to process the information. But Marcus wasn't done yet. He paused for a moment, then dropped the biggest bombshell of all. He looked directly at Davis and said, "You don't know who I am, do you?" Davis's face turned pale. His eyes widened in confusion. "What do you mean?" he asked, his voice shaky. Marcus smiled. "I'm the son of the new owner of this company. My father asked me to come here to watch what was really happening before he made the final decision to buy the company." The silence in the room was deafening. Davis looked like he had just been hit with a ton of bricks. He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. The other executives stared at Marcus, their expressions a mix of disbelief and curiosity. Marcus continued, "You thought you were destroying a nobody, but you were messing with the wrong person." "My father won't stand for what you've been doing here." Davis tried to recover, but it was too late. The damage was done. Everyone now knew the truth about his actions, and there was nothing he could do to fix it. The room erupted into chaos as the truth sank in. The executives looked at Davis in disgust. Some even started whispering about how they had known something was off, but had been too afraid to speak up. Marcus stood tall, his heart racing but steady. He had done it. He had exposed the truth. The humiliation, the anger, the suffering. It was all worth it now. Davis was finished, and Marcus had just become a hero in the eyes of the company. The power had shifted. Marcus knew his life was about to change forever. The fallout from the big reveal was immediate. The moment Marcus dropped the bombshell, everything changed. The room was filled with shock, anger, and disbelief. Davis stood frozen, his face pale, unable to say anything. The executives slowly turned away from him, no longer hiding their disdain. They realized how deep the corruption had gone. Davis's arrogance and greed had caught up with him. He had been so focused on humiliating Marcus and maintaining his power that he never saw the danger coming. Marcus's father had been watching the whole situation unfold from behind the scenes. When Marcus revealed who he was, the truth couldn't be ignored anymore. Within hours, HR and the higher-ups moved quickly. They started investigating everything Marcus had exposed. The evidence was undeniable. Emails, documents, and even the conversation Marcus had overheard were all used to prove Davis's wrongdoings. It didn't take long before they decided Davis had to go. His position as manager was terminated, and the company issued a statement announcing that an investigation would be launched to clean up the mess he'd created. The consequences weren't just about losing his job. Davis had betrayed the trust of the company, its employees, and its customers. The corruption was far-reaching, and now people were starting to see just how much damage he had done. The executives realized they couldn't allow someone like him to stay in charge. He was not only a bad manager, but he was also a liability to the entire company. Davis left the office that day in shame. His head hung low. People who had once been afraid of him now watched him leave, no longer scared of the man who had once held so much power. It was a complete fall from grace. Meanwhile, Marcus felt a weight lift off his shoulders. He had exposed the truth, and now justice was being served. But it wasn't just about taking down Davis. It was about changing the culture of the company. Marcus had shown that integrity and honesty mattered. He had proven that even in the face of humiliation, standing up for what's right could lead to a better outcome. As the dust settled, the company began to rebuild itself. The executives were careful about who they promoted, making sure they chose leaders with honesty and integrity. And Marcus, he was offered a permanent position in the company. His father was proud of him for handling everything with such courage and grace. But for Marcus, the real reward wasn't the promotion or the recognition. It was knowing that he had stood up for what was right. He had faced humiliation, betrayal, and cruelty, but he had turned it all around. The experience had shaped him into someone stronger, and the company would never be the same again. The corrupt manager was gone, but Marcus's impact was just beginning. As time passed, the company started to recover from the damage Davis had caused. Marcus's courage and determination became the foundation for a new beginning. The employees, once fearful and unsure, now felt empowered. They saw how one person, standing up for what was right, could change everything. Trust was slowly being restored. Marcus, however, didn't let the praise go to his head. He knew that while the victory was sweet, the real change had only just begun. The company still had work to do to fix the problems that had been hiding for so long. But with the corrupt manager gone and the truth revealed, the path forward was clearer. Marcus's father, who had been watching quietly from the background, was proud. Not just because his son had exposed the corruption, but because he had done it with honor. The values of hard work and integrity Marcus had shown were the very ones his father wanted to see in the company. It wasn't just about making money. It was about building something that stood for something greater. As for Marcus, he continued to work diligently. The position he had been offered was more than just a job. It was a chance to make real change. He started making a difference by suggesting new policies that promoted transparency and fairness. He spoke to the employees, listened to their concerns, and made sure everyone's voice was heard. Marcus's reputation grew as someone who could be trusted. People looked up to him, not just as the son of the new owner, but as a leader who cared about others. He built a team of honest, hardworking people who shared the same vision for a better future. The company started to thrive again, not just financially, but morally. One evening, as Marcus sat at his desk, looking out the window at the city lights, he realized how much he had changed. The journey from being humiliated by Davis to becoming a respected leader hadn't been easy, but it had been worth it. The road was long, and there were still challenges ahead, but Marcus knew he was ready. In the end, Marcus's story was more than just about revenge or exposing a corrupt manager. It was about standing up for what's right, even when it's hard. It was about knowing that integrity would always be stronger than deceit. And it was about believing that, no matter how tough things got, the truth would always come out in the end. With a sense of peace and accomplishment, Marcus smiled. He had faced the worst and come out on top. The company was better because of it, and so was he. And that was the greatest victory of all. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more powerful, inspiring tales, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. You'll be the first to know when we post new stories filled with unexpected twists, real-life lessons, and unforgettable moments. Subscribe now and join the community of people who believe in standing up for what's right.